Hello, and welcome to the SuperNova Astrology update for December 29th through January 5th, 2026. Here we are. We're moving over into a new year, and wow, 2025 has been quite the journey. It's good to see the end of it, and yet the acceleration of time and the leaping into the new is bringing a whole new different concern and energy. 2025 was about wallowing in the past a bit, with Saturn and Neptune having both retrograded back into Pisces. So we're getting ready now with Saturn and Neptune both direct. They're on their way to this rebirth. Saturn, our laws and rules and reality, moving from Pisces, the end of the zodiac, the old stories and the Piscean age, into Aries, a rebirth. Neptune, our dreams, but also delusions. And so sorting through all of this, Neptune in Pisces is all these different possibilities that confuse the truth. And yet deep in the search, in the mysteries, we can find that essence of truth. And that's really what this moving into Aries is about, bringing forward a reimagining, a reawakening of the original imprint of what this Earth evolution wants to become and has wanted to become, her dream. Because Aries represents the full potential, the I am, everything that's possible. And so it's like, say, as a metaphor, like we're only operating, using a certain percentage of our brain, right? We're only operating on one little shadowy part of a timeline of where there's great possibilities of other experiences. And so this is what's available to us as we move into this new year. It's very powerful. Neptune will move over into Aries, our dreams and visions, getting clarity into the original dream at January 27th. Very powerful timing. And then Saturn will move into Aries on February 15th. So we're here perched at the edge with both of them now direct, but we're still in the old year. We're still in the old Pisces. We're still in the old kind of in the dungeon, but we're starting to see the light come through our way out. Now, one of the things that's really brought this shift is the fact that on the solstice, December 21st, Black Moon Lilith moved into the sign of Sagittarius. So Black Moon Lilith is our deepest, darkest secrets and hidden things hidden even from ourselves, in our subconscious, deepest pains and distortions. And in Scorpio, it's deep dive into the deep suppression, into the deepest feelings. And so we are kind of being released back into a lightness around these things, a little bit of a pressure coming off of the psychic, all the deep psychic work we've been doing, starting to come to a greater clarity. Because going through the energy of the Scorpio, all our planets going into Scorpio, into that deep dive, and then coming back up into Sagittarius, into that rising of like, oh, okay, this is what, now it's making more sense, what that journey into the darkness was about. But then in December, our personal planets in Sagittarius all took turns coming into square with Saturn and then square with Neptune. It's like our personal planets coming up to Saturn and Neptune in their journey. They're now direct, getting ready to go into Aries, but not in Aries yet. And our personal planets, one by one, coming for counsel. These squares were difficult. And it was just bang, 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 the whole month of December, one after the other. Now we still have the last one, and it's Mercury. Mercury catching up to the other planets after its retrograde. Mercury went, hey, you guys, hold on. We went to the top of the mountain, but I had to go back into Scorpio. I had to go to the depths of the dungeon again, but I figured some shit out. And so Mercury going through the end parts of Sagittarius now and coming up to meet the other planets is bringing an information session, right? There's some informing going on. So we want to really pay attention, and that's the power of this time of year, the holy nights between Christmas and Epiphany. Any time during this season, you can do the Holy Night meditations. They're traditionally seen as Christmas Eve to Epiphany, 12 Holy Nights, but a mystery 13th. And Orthodox Christmas is on January 6th. So this time in these Holy Nights, you can equate these Holy Nights as like a period of time outside of time within the year, where we're ending the year and we're beginning another year. And so Rudolf Steiner gave indications for these Holy Night meditations, looking at the path of the soul through the zodiac. So basically, with each night, meditating on a month of the year, an archetype of the astrology, also looking at that month, what it was like, writing about it, doing artwork, examining what that month was about in this past year, and then opening up to indications, visions, prophecy around what your month in the coming year had. So it's a powerful exercise, and there's been a group of supernova souls working with this material over these last years, and so this year I'm doing it in a video format, and the energy is really powerful. So I invite you to join, and if you cannot join, you can't afford it, please reach out for a 50% off coupon, or you can give a donation at a later time. So, but because this work is so profound, and it doesn't matter, we're already into the 6 nights here, but you can still catch up and be a part of it. It is so amazing. And to really take this time to write and do art and contemplate and really meditate, not just on the year before, but our whole life up to this point, and redirect, because astrologically, we've gotten the message that this time between these, the personal planets in Sagittarius squaring up with Saturn and Jupiter, to moving into Capricorn and squaring up with opposing Jupiter and squaring Chiron. And the path in between is the golden arrow, where we can point our lives in the right direction and really get into alignment with the life that we are meant to live. So this is so much of what we're working with in these Holy Night meditations, resetting to our original blueprint, that potential that's within us. That at the birth of Yeshua, Jesus, that's the soul, human soul coming into the body. And then there's the higher soul, the sun self, that's represented in Epiphany in 3 Kings celebration, where the 3 kings were the magi, the astrologers and the wisdom keepers from the far and distant lands that saw the signs and had to come see the new king. And so it's not until that recognition happened that the king, Yeshua, and the family would know for sure that this has been confirmed. So this period of time every year is our confirmation, supernova souls, that we came here to be a part of this Christ body, to be a part of this robe, to put on our golden robe. And that's ultimately what we're exploring in the Holy Nights, the path of the human soul through earth evolution, infusing and incarnating into matter and transmuting it back into light. Just what Yeshua showed us and told us that we could do, and more. And more, is that all of us doing it together? That's pretty cool. And so this is the contemplation of this time of year and just really aligning ourselves. So I invite you to be a part of these meditations with us, and the link to sign up is in the information box below. So let's talk about this parting of the waters, this moment in time where we are at this strange time of year where it's kind of outside of time. The sun pauses at the solstice. Now, at the solstice, when the sun paused, Black Moon Lilith moved into Sag and said, whoa, wait a minute. Way bigger picture. We've got Mercury moving through Sagittarius, now has completed the retrograde shadow, but still in Sag. And so Mercury is the last one and has the most information for us to make the square with Saturn and Neptune. So Mercury is an exact square with Saturn on the 30th of December, an exact square with Neptune on the 1st and 2nd of January. So it's like, this is our new year marker. And Rudolf Steiner talked about the sun, because it becomes closer to the earth around January 1st. It's also an alignment of Sirius and the Great Pyramids. That this is a time, right there is, we're coming out of the depths of the holy nights, that he talks about our folk soul. This is our programming, right? Like our ancestral programming, societal programming, past life programming, and that can all be suspended, and we can just reach up into the spiritual hierarchies. And what happens when we have that direct connection, which has been blocked, we have to understand this, that we're opening up the floodgates to so much information, to so much wisdom, to so much guidance, to really feeling that we're held and guided. It's like they've been knocking and saying, hey, are you guys going to listen to us? And finally, the veil being thin at this time of year is a perfect time to reinstate that guidance. And so the messages are flooding in. And so he says that when your folk soul is suspended on that level, you can, whatever you connect with those spiritual hierarchies, it's basically like what you think can become reality. And it's about manifestation. Manifesting that life that we know is possible for us, that we planned on in our pre-birth experiences. And this is what our pre-birth commitments and goals. This is all that comes up for review in these holy nights. So it's a very powerful time. And so from the 28th to the 3rd of January, we've got Mercury in these squares, and it's kind of like the final time, right? So Mars, the Sun, Venus all made these squares. Now Mercury's turn, and Mercury's, like I said, catching up. Mercury moves faster than the other planets, but it's slow coming out of its retrograde. And so it's just the dynamics of this astrology is so powerful, because the planets do this every year. They go apart and they come together, but the way and where and when and how they're coming together is just so incredibly profound, that if these planets are aspects of our own being, then we're putting ourselves back together. And isn't that a beautiful thought, supernova souls? Because as these planets come out of the squares and move into Capricorn, so now we have on the 16th of December, Mars moved into Capricorn, and on the 21st, the Sun for solstice moved into Capricorn, and then Venus moved in on the 25th. Mercury moves into Capricorn on the 2nd, just as it makes that square with Neptune. So our planets all doing this, and they've been kind of far away from each other, getting closer and closer and closer. Mars was first, but he's the fastest. And Mercury's Mars was first, but he's the slowest. And Mercury's the fastest, but he was retrograde. And so it's so dynamic that they all tumble into Capricorn and then come into conjunctions with each other. So the first conjunction will be the Sun and Venus meeting up, and we'll be feeling that this week, starting to feel that already here at the end of December. They meet up from the 5th to the 7th. We have to understand that the way that our personal planets, the timing of them means that when they come into conjunction, they stay quite a while because they move at similar paces, And so literally the beginning of the energies of these conjunctions start on the 27th of December, and they go all the way through February 5th. Okay? So all of January is a council of planets coming together and being like, dude, what was that like for you? And how did you make it through? And what are we going to do about this? And it was like, we haven't been able to talk to each other for so long, for lifetimes we've been kept apart, and so how do we even know to communicate? And that's why we got to go telepathy, right? So the Sun and Venus are the first ones to come together from the 5th to the 7th. And because they stay together so long, we'll be feeling that all the way through the 18th. Now, the 18th of January is the day that Jupiter and Chiron in their exact square, they were an exact square from the 19th to the 27th, just made it through that one, but we feel them still close in square until the 18th of January. So it's like we're not out of this like intense. Let me tell you, the beginning of the Jupiter square Chiron, it happened at the second part of October for the first time, second part of December for the second time, third one, first week of July next year, this upcoming year. We're almost there. But that all started at the beginning of September. Okay? We've been in a gridlock square around a fight to the death for Mother Earth to reclaim our life, our resources, her body, our body. And that all started in September. So, take a deep breath, pat yourself on the back. But so it's wild that we have all these planets converging and coming together just as that's resolving. Now, on the 18th, that's also the day that Venus will move into Aquarius. Then the Sun and Mercury. Now, the Sun and Mercury are timekeepers because in the small time of Mercury retrograde, because the Sun and Mercury, when they meet up before the retrograde, during the retrograde, after the retrograde, really key pieces. So this is when the Sun and Mercury come back together, Mercury catching back up. Guess what? They catch up together on the 21st of January to move into Aquarius together. So the Sun is our identity and Mercury is our mind. So it's like, in Aquarius, 0 degrees, a birth of a new mind, a birth of a new consciousness. And it is brilliant consciousness. Awakening, a reawakening of the ancient technologies and mysterious wisdoms, the Sophia wisdom we're talking about in the Holy Night meditations. Just a complete awakening of that. And it's like all of our planets coming together and kind of like we had that thing where they've been on a great quest up the mountain. And that Sagittarius coming out of that Mercury retrograde was like going to the top of the mountain, but then realizing that they couldn't see without each other through the fog. And then tumbling down into the correct path together. And that's these conjunctions. So the Sun and Venus from the 5th to the 7th, Venus and Mars on the 8th, the Sun and Mars the 9th through the 12th, Mercury and Mars on the 18th, the Sun and Mercury on the 21st, and Venus and Mercury for the final one on January 29th and 30th. And so it's like a whole month, it's 5 weeks of these conjunctions because they're at such similar rates, in the way that they're traveling, they slow down to come together, right? So Mars is Mercury's catching up and the Sun's catching up to Mars, and Venus is catching up, and it's just like all culminating. Okay, so they culminate together pretty much between the 10th and the 14th of January. And that is also when they come into this crazy interaction with Jupiter and Chiron. So Jupiter and Chiron are coming off from the square we felt from the beginning of September. But it's not over yet. It's not over till it's over. And so it's like, oh, phew, it's coming. They're coming off because where are they right now? We've got Jupiter's just moving to 20 degrees. And Chiron is moving to 23 degrees, right? So they're just separating out of that exact square. But right then, personal planets is like, the personal planets kind of just kicking around in the dark, trying to find the way into some sort of door or pathway. And it's all dead ends. And it's like, da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, trying to beat down the door and it falls open. You fall into space and down the rocky hillside, slippery rocky hillside to land on the path with your friends. So here we are, and but that path, that falling into place, is the square with an opposition with Jupiter. So on the 10th and 11th, the Sun, Venus, and Mars will all be together, close, and in opposition to Jupiter. And I believe that happens at 20 degrees. Let's see. somewhere, I think about 20 degrees. And so, I think those conjunctions happen at 20, very powerful. It's about coming together, collaboration, working together. We can't do it alone. We've been kept from each other. And now we're like thrown into the same room. And so that's very powerful with that configuration, because the Mars, the Sun, first Venus, and then Mars and the Sun, and they're all together as they oppose Jupiter and square Chiron. So opposing Jupiter on the 10th, 11th, and squaring Chiron on the 11th through 14th. And then Mercury will make those squares, catching up. Mercury's behind, but catching up from the 14th, on the 14th and the 16th. So just January is so intense, because then the planets start moving into Aquarius, right? So they're like in Capricorn, getting into line, finding each other, but then bam, 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 falling down the mountain with this fight for life. Didn't even know you were almost dead. This Jupiter. So our personal planets, in the order of this for the opposition with Jupiter square Chiron in the first couple weeks of January, will be first Venus, but very close, Sun, Mars, and then Mercury. And so Venus is opposing Jupiter. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. We don't have enough of the mother's love. We are not, it's there. We're not receiving it. We're not talking to her. We're not in union. We're not in reunion. We're not united, and so it's, the journey is to her. The journey is to her. And those of us who are on that journey and I feel this in our heart and soul, just be there, because everything has to come back to this. Every organization, every government, every bank, every institution has to come back to the great commandment that is the mother's love. And so here we sit. And this is our personal planets coming together. It's like, you know what? We don't have time to argue anymore. Like the plan has been made, the path has been set, and we will wake up and we will align and we will follow it. So incredibly powerful. But so opposing Jupiter in Cancer retrograde, it's like, it's the tide going out. Where is our mother? Where is the love? Where is our connection? And then in square to Chiron. Now Chiron turns direct on the 3rd. So that is so powerful, because the second exact square between Jupiter and Chiron, they were both retrograde. But when the personal planets come in, Jupiter's still retrograde, but Chiron will just have turned direct. So that means it is time to get out of the woundedness, right? Like, we've identified with the woundedness. We've made ourselves the body of Earth being so toxic and broken, and we've become so toxic and broken. And it's like, no. We're not going to let the wounds define us anymore. And that's Chiron turning direct. So for all of those supernova souls that have Chiron in Aries, it has been a long and excruciating journey the last 8 years or so with Chiron in Aries. And it's not quite over, because Chiron will move into, let's see, I think I have that here, into into Taurus. Yes. Chiron will be moving into the sign of Taurus here coming up this year. I don't have it written down actually, but it turns direct. Chiron turns direct on the 3rd, will come out of retrograde shadow at 27 degrees Aries on April 25th and head into the sign of Taurus. So we're coming to the end. We'll a little retrograde back into Aries, I think, this year, but not. We're kind of just know that this whole fighting to survive, to claim back our Earth, to move forward on our timeline, this Chiron coming to the end of Aries is a marker for supernova souls. It's something that's connected our soul group together. And whether you have Chiron in Aries or any planets in Aries, but this energy, or Chiron in the cardinal signs. So it really has been a new start. Chiron says we've got to get out of the wounds of the past, and the wounds of the past have been feeding and siphoning off our energetic life force. So in order to heal the wounds of the past and heal completely, of course, we must take back our life force. And we are right there. So powerful. So Chiron will be direct when these planets, so we've got Venus first to make this meeting and say, ooh, we're missing the mother. Oh, we're fighting for life. Oh, we got to get over the woundedness. And so everything is about coming back into connection with our loving mother, Mother Earth. It's her ascension, and we get to go with. And until we get this figured out, we are spinning in circles. And everything that wants to distract us in this reality of the old patriarchal structures are falling apart. And it's like they're going to fall apart before they're going to willingly come back to mother. You know, that's what's going on. Come back to mother or fall apart. And we are too. I mean, our bodies are saying, come on, take care of me. If you're not actively detoxing and taking care of me, then you might not be able to keep me, because we are in dire straits. We are in the place where we're fighting for life, for Earth and our bodies. And yet we're turning the corner on it with Chiron turning direct. And so a very different feeling of these squares because of that shift. But Venus is saying, our love, we're missing mother and we don't have our life force. And then the sun comes in and Mars together, and they say, girl, we got life force, we got fight, we got fire. The sun is water. The sun is her too. So the masculine has to come back and fight for her. That's the balance we need. And it's very confusing, sorting through all of this. But that's the messages. The masculine coming to meet Venus just then. Venus goes first. Says we don't have enough love. And all that energy has been stolen. And then Mars and the sun come in and say, honey, let's turn that motor back on, And so it's very beautiful. And then Mercury comes in with the understanding, putting all the pieces together. The 14th, 16th, that's when making that square in opposition. And Mercury saying, hey, how do we get back to mother? How do we take back? And the fact that Chiron turns direct first says we go back to mother by taking back the energy that's been stolen, our true authority and autonomy in our own being, and that Mother Earth's most precious resources are only meant for what's in alignment with her. And that's the correction. That is ultimately the correction that is happening and must happen on Mother Earth. Down into the deepest, most hidden facilities, we are not going to tolerate the using of her resources and energy for harm and deliberate distorting corruption of the DNA. And her body. Mother's authority is coming back, and we get to be the tsunami of her love, right? Because it's only in love that she can bring the authority. But she's got to come back into her power. I think she's a little scared, and she wants her children with her holding space. So thank you for answering the call. Now, after these squares resolve, which will be, it looks like about the 20th, 18th, the 18th, right? So 18th, we've got the squares resolving, the Jupiter square Chiron, Jupiter and Chiron no longer in square. And then we've got our personal planets lining up, ready to move into Aquarius. First will be the Sun and Mercury move into Aquarius together. Oh, no, actually, first Venus on the 18th, then this of January. Sun and Mercury will move into Aquarius on the 21st together, and then on the 24th, Mars. So it's like Venus gets ahead of Mars, and Mars and the Sun come together and go, go girl, you have to lead the way, and we're with you because you're one sexy girl. We want to see you flourish and bloom in the garden, like, come on, it's like been about owning and controlling and creating scarcity. But what happens if we step back and say, whoa, let's build this garden, and just step back and just enjoy? There's plenty of abundance for everyone, you know? So this is the energy of our personal planets making this journey into Aquarius. Coming to Capricorn, getting organized, cleaning it up, getting focused, working hard, setting up the structures. Capricorn is the structures that we need to be able to come into light body, to be able to expand our consciousness. And then Aquarius gives us that light that lights the way on the path. So from the 18th to the 24th, our personal planets all moving into Aquarius. And then from the 20th to the 28th, the conjunction with Pluto. So this is like they come together, but then they separate out. Venus first. Venus will meet on the 20th. Mercury will have caught up to be right behind Venus, right? I got your back, girl. And then the Sun, and then Mars. From the 20th to the 28th, that last week of January, it's like we're getting our final initiation into the Aquarian age. And it's like, pack your bags, organize your stuff, because we got places to go, people to see, things to do. Now we finally know what we're doing according to Mother's laws and rules, because we had to fall far enough down into the unknown, into the dungeon, down the dark, slippery, rocky slope to land in her arms again. And so that's the meeting with Pluto, because Pluto represents fear of our own power, distortions around our own power. And in Aquarius, it's the last Aquarian age, or the most famous Aquarian age, Atlantean time, and it represents the misuse of technologies. So you have to understand that in order to even get into the Aquarian age, we have to get right on these technologies. Who's allowed to use them, and what are they allowed to be used for? And that's alignment, alignment, alignment. Because in Lemurian time, all technology, we had advanced technologies, but it was only able to be used in alignment with humanity. And so we've got to go back to that in order to have access within our being, morally, physically, spiritually, karmically, to access these technologies again. And this is the journey of our personal planets coming up to Pluto. It's so profound because Pluto will make it to 3 degrees, where Pluto turned retrograde on the 10th of January, right when these conjunctions occur, just before, right? The first conjunction with Pluto is on the 20th. So it's like Pluto's just making it to 3 degrees. And then it's like, he's got a barrage, right? He's like back in office. He's been out, and the mayor or the king is back in office. And it's like, we're all lining up to come and get like, hey, Pluto, dude, I'm not scared anymore. I'm ready to, got to move into, kick into the gear as the leader I am in the Aquarian age. So that's what that's all about, the last week of January. And then we move right into the energy of February is Saturn, we talked about, is when Saturn will be moving in to Aries on the 15th. And so once Saturn and Neptune are both in Aries, that means it is the rebirth of our world, and we do start building. But then we go right into a Mercury retrograde. I know we're just coming out of a Mercury retrograde. It's like, geez, do they ever stop? The Mercury retrogrades of 2026 happen in water signs. And so it's very powerful energy for us. The first one in Pisces, the second one in Cancer. So that it's going to be helping us come into those primordial waters, into the co-creating, into the connection, into that alignment, to give us permission to move confidently into this Aquarian age. So what a journey. And then it's in February, the Aquarius new moon that will happen around that 18th marker time. The Aquarius new moon, that will signify Chinese New Year, moving into the year of the fire horse. Very different energy from the water snake. So we prepare. We get it in order. And I kind of saw that, like the January parade of planets and that journey. It's kind of like, okay, you guys, get your troops, get your horses, get your battalions, get your weapons, like get everything in order. It's not your traditional battle, but we are sharpening and honing that sort of discernment, that alignment with taking the creation forces and making sure that they're only used in alignment with Mother Earth's original dream in our lives, and paving the way to be that living, breathing example for everyone. And so we walk forth and proclaim, and we do that through joy. This is ascension. This is claiming back lightness of being and joy. And that's the path of this next period of time that we're talking about, from this new moon cycle that we just had to the through the next couple of months into that February Aquarius new moon, to moving into this new age and new year together. So thank you so much for being a part of the offerings, showing up again and again, being a part of the SuperNova Soul Tribe that gets you into the new moon and full moon activations, and also Zoom calls for SuperNova Souls, working to come together, figure out our focus areas, our geographical areas, and really getting to work on the dream unfolding as we tumble back into the original blueprint. What an amazing journey. So thank you for considering being a part of those Holy Night meditations, deep and profound work, and your donations, your bringing your energy, your offerings of support. So meaningful. And I'm so glad. It's so lucky to be here together at this formation stage. It's really not a lot of us that are holding this energy, and yet such a powerful core group. And I feel you, and I love you. I feel your devotion, your dedication, your reuniting as a mother's knight and a warrior, reuniting of our soul groups together with her in the heart of Mother Earth. So thank you so much for your support, SuperNova Soul, and for being with me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next update. Look out for that Cancer full moon. That happens on Saturday, January 3rd, but early in the morning. So we'll be doing the activation on Friday, January 2nd. So happy New Year. And I look forward to seeing you there. That Cancer full moon activation, the next update. I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Thanks so much for being with us. Namaste.